Good afternoon, everyone. I am Mohamed Danzo, and this is Farafina show. A little over 72 hours since the President of the Republic of Liberia, His Excellency George Mane Weah, aka the best spokesperson in Africa, announced that he is going to be giving free tuition to all the undergraduate students of the public universities in Liberia. So many have been wondering, why is he doing this right now? Is this the right time to do this? Some agree with him, some do not, but a lot of people think that it is a good idea, but not the right time to do it. So we have people in the studio here with me today to discuss this and many other issues. And here with me in the studio, we do have Farafina Bakoya. So Farafina Bakoya is one person that ran for a seat of representative in 2011. He was on the CDC ticket, right, yes, for Bond County. And we have Chester Weah. Although he carries the name Weah, that does not mean that he is in support of everything that Judge Weah does. He's a resident of Minnesota, a Liberian also. So on the far right, we have Keleti Krumah. Keleti Krumah is one of those young intellectuals that we do have. He did his studies in Ghana and Liberia, and all those were private schools. So we do have the chairman of NPP and also the Secretary General for the Coalition of Democratic Change in Minnesota, Charles Gono Jr. So welcome, gentlemen, and thanks for joining me today.
Thank you.
Thank you very
much. So, you know, I want to get started with you, Bakoya. You guys may do a little bit of introduction, but you know, I will start with a question, and then it's up to you to introduce yourself if you want to. The idea of free tuition, what do you think about it?
Well, thank you very much, Donso, for this opportunity. Like he said, I'm Farafina Bakoya, one-time legislative candidate for Bond County District 7 on the Congress for Democratic Change ticket. The issue of free tuition will never be something that people will have dissenting or opinion about. But the approach and methodology could be some way reasons for people to be skeptical. Because basically there's two ways of looking at this thing. As a student of politics, of political science, I know that there is a political statement and there's policy statement. There's a difference between that. And political statements are meant to appeal to the sentiment of your base. And policy statements are those ones that are well crafted to meet the expectations of the entire citizenry. And so I'm looking at this announcement or pronouncement as a political statement and not a policy statement.
Okay, that's good. Chester, before I ask you another question, do you look at it the same way that Fallon is looking at it?
Well, thank you very much, Donzo. I'm coming from a little bit of a different point of view of it. And my point here is, it's a very good thing. We appreciate the fact, and I want to give President George Weah a hand clap for that. Okay. But it's not timely. It's not timely. That's what I think. And as the program unfolds, we're going to go into that, and I'm going to give you some reasons why I think it's just not timely.
Okay. And Charles, to you, these two gentlemen have spoken. Do you agree with any of them, or do you have a different perspective?
I partially agree, with them, and I have some disagreements and reservations. Looking at the needs of our country, we took on a mandate to alleviate our people out of poverty, and the president made education one of his primary priorities, and living upon that, we started rolling actions it may be a political statement, it may be, you may criticize as policy, wrong policy statement, but the Liberian people are suffering. Tuition is part of your school fees. He's not canceling all fees. Tuition is a section of your school fees when you look at it. Just by canceling tuition, I mean, the University of Liberia has around $16 to $20 million budget a year. And the collection of tuitions account for around $800,000 US to $1 million. With the government spending a whole lot on other projects, there is no way that you can say that if you subsidize $1 million to alleviate some stretch of suffering on the population, it will be a wrong statement or a something. And look at the budget, and the school is still running, but $1 million to be subsidized in terms of just canceling a portion of the fees, which is the tuition section. It's all it is. So, it's my view, and I know we can.
Yeah, we have more to
discussion.
talk about. So Kelechi, you did attend private schools. You know what it means to pay school fees. What do you think about free tuition?
Thank you anyway. Thank you for hosting us. What I want to say here today is that I see it on a different perspective, you know. And then I'm not against the government, you know. I'm a former student general, and the issue of tuition, free tuition, I don't see it timely. I kind of agree with the brothers, you know, for what they said.
With the brothers, these two or Charles?
No, you know, obviously I'm not going to agree with Brother Charles. So.
Okay.
So, and then the thing about it is, just a correction first, I also attend school in the U.S.
Okay.
So, and I know how it is.
Yeah.
You know, United States being the #1 example in everything
Yeah.
we're doing in the world. So I don't think it's timely, you know. So if I'm given more time, I can better explain myself on how it should be handled properly.
Definitely. I will give all of you guys a chance to discuss that. And that was going to be my next question. You know, everybody keeps saying they don't really think that it is timely. Maybe the only person who did not say that was Charles. So Fallon, what do you think, why do you think it is not timely?
The reason I think it's not timely is that, like I said initially, it could be timely if it's a political statement with political intent, but if it's a policy, then it's not timely for several reasons.
Yeah.
One of the reasons is that just yesterday, the government of Ambassador George Weah published or had this pro-poor agenda for prosperity and development. I think all other approaches of this government in succeeding in providing those basic social needs of the Liberian people are embedded in that piece of document, including the aspect of education. So if there is a policy, and that particular piece of document is considered the policy of this government, and so if this is a policy, if this declaration or pronouncement of free tuition is a policy of this government, then it should be in that document. And so announcing it before the document is published is where I got a little, that's the timeliness, that's one of the timeliness I'm looking at. Secondly, we are in the middle of a budget year. I mean, we're not in the supplemental stage of the budget, and we are not in the creation aspect of the budget. The budget is already in full swing. So where is the source of this quote-unquote money that is going to be going toward tuition? Where are they going to take it from when there are already been appropriations in the budget? And so the issue of timeliness comes in there also. Because if this was going to be around February where you have the supplementary aspect of the budget, then you say, okay, they found somewhere and they place it in it. Or in June or July up to when the budget is passed, we could say it's in it. But not when the budget is in full swing. So, and even though you may have good intention, but you must also know that you have to be accountable for everything you do. And so if we cannot know the source of this funding, then we tend to worry about it. And then thirdly, because I have to give others a chance to talk, because there are so many reasons, including for the timeliness. And so one of the reasons is that the issue of free tuition, no government or no country is an island. You have to borrow from other countries around you or that are carrying on similar policy. Before I came here last night, when you told me, when you invited me to appear this something, I started to look for countries in West Africa. Luckily for me, I ran to one of the countries that the president went to seek 6,000 teachers from Nigeria. Nigeria policy or educational system has got similar thing like that. But they have something, because every right comes with a responsibility. The right for the government to provide free education for the students or for a citizen comes with the responsibility of how long a student is going to be a liability on this opportunity or privilege. So they have the 6334 educational system in Nigeria, where you go for primary education for 6 years, you go for junior primary for 3 years, you go for secondary for 3 years, and you go for tertiary education for 4 years. So it is binding on every student. that should go through this process to know about the 6334. That, I mean, if your tenure in school will succeed this, it means that you're going to be denied of these opportunities. So those are programs that our educational system must be taken into consideration. I agree the president will come and make the pronouncement, but the technocrats are those ministers from a Ministry of Education to come and provide a fuller clarity and approaches in these things. And it got lacking, and where I really got another setback on it was after the president pronouncement, the next day, the Ministry of Information had a press briefing, and the acting education minister was given the opportunity to speak on the issues. And he did not give us, he only repeated what the president said. That means that there was no clear-cut program or plan towards this.
Okay. All right, good to hear, and I know for sure, Chester already have a lot of things to say, we can tell. So, Chester, you've all agreed that this was not timely, and you all have problem with this, though you know that free tuition is something that nobody will reject. It is a good thing. What are some of the issues you have with this?
Well, in the first place, thank you very much. Government is continuity.
Yeah.
In 2001, the education law was enacted.
Okay.
And making primary education free and compulsory to the people of Liberia. When the CDC government came into power, my expectation was to revisit that, come back on the table and say, where are we with this? Now, according to UNICEF, 51% of children the age of 11 to 12 are not strategically placed into the right classroom. What are they doing about that? Thousands of schools in Liberia doesn't have good infrastructures, no rules, no good running water. Children don't have restroom. If you say free education, what kind of education are you talking about? Tuition free. If a child cannot go to a primary school to get a concrete education, how is he going to go to university to get tuition free education? So I was expecting, or I was thinking that the government was going to come on the table to revisit all of these things and come up with a tangible proposal on how to solve these issues. Make sure we got solid primary education. Look at our neighboring country. 12th graders in Liberia cannot even write a 15-friendly letter. The education system is bad. Even the former president said it. And we all know, everybody sitting on this table have primary education from Liberia. And we can attest to that. The education system is broken. We don't have qualified teachers in the classroom. One upon a time, the president jumped out and said he was bringing teachers from Nigeria. How far are we with that?
Yeah.
Out of a sudden, boom, free tuition. I think we need to settle in and ask ourselves, what do we want?
That is a very good point.
So, I mean, I will stop there and then hear from the brothers, but
yeah.
I don't know where we're heading right now.
Yeah,
so that issue of tuition free is just not timely.
Yeah. And I know a lot of people watching right now, especially those that are not Liberians, will be wondering, like, how is his last name Weah and he's opposing the president like this? Well, Charles, to you though, you probably have to answer more questions than anybody else here today,
Most definitely.
because you are a part of the coalition for democratic change. So then we expect you to know more about this than every one of us does. But my first question to you, which is coming from something that you said earlier, you said the Liberian people are suffering. I know you want to say something about how important this free tuition is, but I want to ask you about this first. You said Liberian people are suffering, so George Weah is helping them. And somebody said yesterday that he's trying to take people off the street. Yes, let's agree on that. But if people do not have, like Chester said, if people do not have primary education, how are you going to take them off the street and send them to school, that is university, for them to go study? Okay. Number one. My second one is taking them off the street to school right now. Do you think that is going to, decrease the sufferings that people are going through?
It is not the only source of the Liberian people's problem. People being on the street is, just one sector of 100 things while we're lingering in poverty. It's a collective effort if we should alleviate ourselves of poverty. Here in the school systems here, your children go to school. There's certain provisions, there's certain limits on what the teachers can do in school. And you as a parent, your responsibility on what it takes. 70% of the education should be from home and academically, and going through studies and homeworks and everything. So Liberians as a whole need to take the education of the children more important. It's just not the government. The government cannot run everybody's home. If you don't find a value, we have cultural behaviors that are impacting us very, very on a large scale. And the decisions we make, are people focus their spending on a lot of different things. So it's almost like, someone in America here, or you are getting the support for kids, and you take it instead and go buy hair with it and say that it's for the provision of it's bad decision making. If we are to focus on, if every parent in Liberia to focus and say, mandatory your child has to be in school, the government can take the lead, but the parents come in. And when it comes to primary education, which is the foundation, they must make it mandatory that, there are consequences for people who don't enroll their children in school. Other countries have it.
Yeah, they must make it mandatory that
make
there are consequences. So who are those that will make it mandatory?
The government can take initiative on one side, but also communities.
Communities. Do
Community
you think
leaders,
they can make it mandatory though? Do they have any upper hand to make it mandatory that if you do not send your child to school, this is what you're going to go through?
No, they cannot be the law, they cannot be the judge. The government has it. But
so then the government does not have to take the initiative, the government just has to do it, right?
They have to take, they can take the initiative. They can't pass, they have to go through community, just like law enforcement here. There's now community law enforcement rather than just stopping people and doing everything. They use the community programs to stop crime, have people report crime when they see it, and to make the police community friendly. It's one thing. So even if the government has a policy, you can't just come and infringe on people and say, hey, if you don't do this, then this is going to be it or this. So you have to pass through the community. There are a lot of programs, like non-profit programs, educational programs, just like the way they were trying to alleviate the female genital mutilation program. They didn't go and say we'll put you in prison, but they educated people, and there are a lot of different organizations that are running these non-profit organizations to educate people in rural areas to tell them that, hey, this is a health hazard. It is not beneficial to you. It doesn't have any connotation.
So not to cut you off, my final question before I go to Keleti. Are they doing that now, though, when it comes to education? Are they going through community members to make sure that they know the importance of education and other things?
Yes, there are programs in place. I'm not at the education ministry, but I'm aware that they are rolling up. They can't roll up all the policies at the same time, but they have to look at what the previous government left behind. This government is only 8 months or 9 months into power. They have to look at it, review it, and see how they can re-engage most of these trials. We have 6 years.
So you just hit Chester's point. Chester said that, when they made the primary education free, so his expectation was for them to review that policy and then act on that.
Yes.
But instead of doing that, they jumped gears and then they went straight to, the universities.
No, there is one policy, okay? There are hundreds of policies that is in place. So that one, everybody cannot run government, okay? The way in which the government strategizes, the timing of its policy arrangements does not mean that your personal view should be the priority or should be number one. Everybody got a different personal view. You got one, he got one, he got one, he got one. But it will not be, even myself got one, but it may not be what the government will want to do. There are people in charge, there are the experts in charge who are running this thing. This government has just set in like around 8 months. They must give the government a chance to put its foot on the ground and get things going. But one of the immediate things is when is it necessary for Liberians to be alleviated of some financial burden? Okay. We have 12 years. $12 million that was put in the budget for WIAC fee tuition payment for 6 years. $2 million per year. That $2 million is stretched out because the first 3 years there will be a lot of classroom tutorials, and by the time they engage in the first 3 years, the 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade that are getting some similar tutorials will be more ready, and the money that they're spending on this massive tutorial program and put aside from the tuition payment for the WIAC fee payment will reduce, and they can divert some of that money into other things and that will be able to compensate for other stuff. This is just one thing out of 100 things that is possible in terms of how it can pay for anything it wants to do.
Okay. My love for this program right now is for the fact that every time somebody speaks, you generate more questions. And then, so I know all of you guys have a lot to say. Kelechi, I'm going to get to you, but I want to bring this to your attention. The president, when he went the last time to make this pronouncement at the campus of the University of Liberia, he said this, and I'm going to quote him. He said, "Therefore, I, Judge Manewia, and in the name of the Liberian people and their government, declare free tuition for all undergraduate students at the University of Liberia, and as well as all other public universities in Liberia." So he said that in the name of the people. Yes. He said it in the name of the government, and he said it in his name. Before you speak on other things that you wanted to speak on, do you believe that there was a consultation? Because he did say that he is speaking in the name of everyone.
Yes. There was a consultation.
I want him to answer that too. Okay. So do you think there was a consultation though?
I don't think it went across.
Yeah.
Because I've seen documents, policies documents from Ministry of Education, from Ministry of Finance, and the documents I've seen, it doesn't reflect on what the president said, so for me, that's it.
Yeah, and the issue of the timeliness. So let's come to that. What do you have to say on that?
Before I continue, let me just historicize a little bit. You see, if you look at a country like China, when Chairman Mao Zedong came into power, the issue of free education, looking at the looking at the population of China, so it went across. Now, the first thing was to industrialize, because if you don't industrialize, you're not going to sustain the education. What's the essence of going to school if you cannot get a job? You understand? So what they did was they industrialized, they made sure that the old folks pay attention on the future generation, they farm, they could sustain themselves, and they got rid of this international, politics or propaganda. So this China that we're discussing kept in that, situation for like almost 50 years. So after then, we saw a magical China, which is almost one of the best today in the world. So let's digress a little bit to Cuba and other countries. Now, coming back to West Africa, I've never seen a country in West Africa that have free education for university students. I've never seen it. Okay, I went to school in Ghana. Yeah. The system is built in a way that if you went to primary or secondary or junior high or senior high in Ghana, immediately after WAEC, the board determine based on your grades the university you go to. You don't choose that I want to attend University of Legon. You don't choose I want to go to Cape Coast or any other place. They decide based on your WAEC result. So we don't have a system like that in Liberia. Now, if you want to introduce a system like that, so we know that we have this on record that our educational system is a mess. The former president said it, and I know most people can attest to it because I went to school in Liberia too. So this is a situation where you find yourself, if you pronounce free education or tuition free in Liberia for university students, what are mechanisms you're going to put in place to make sure that you don't have one overcrowdedness? Because I'm just walking and say, okay, free, so I have the right to attend University of Liberia. You can't deny me of that. So, but what are the qualifications I'm taking to the university? And what are the track system to say, okay, this person is coming with this thing, what they have to build them up with. So I challenge you, the Ministry of Education, they don't have that. Now to talk of the president. Now, the president said he consulted the finance minister, overnight. Or quote unquote, I called the finance minister and said, "My man, what we have to do about this thing?" And he said he came over and blah 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 and stuff. He said, I don't want to go into that literature. So, but what was more astonishing was that seeing the university students celebrating in the street and not understanding the implication of the country. You have a country that almost 75% depend on aid. What are you going to take the money from to fund the government? You just had another money saga that 16 billion was missing. You haven't even addressed that issue. Or is it another trickery or chicanery to bring, just to take the minds of the Liberian people from the money saga? Or is it another trickery that, they are not going to maintain or sustain for next government. Because if you want to do something as a government, you don't just think of yourself. Think of the succeeding generation to come. If this policy or if this thing that you're trying to do is going to be sustainable. You understand? Yeah. So with that, now, the educational system, you understand? The high school students, what are they doing? Like the brother just made mention of tutorial sessions. Those things we know, people just say it. But we live there, you know, our brothers are there and our sisters are there. We know what they go through on a daily basis. So you cannot sit there and tell me that, okay, the tutorial sessions are going on. Every high school, they have to study for WIAC. Every high school. But it depends on the individual and it depends on the policies that you put down to make the person understand and hear you. If you don't meet this requirement, you're not going to get to this university or this college. Yeah. With that, you have something in place, at least tangible, that nobody will hold the government accountable for not being, you know, placed in that situation. You understand? So I pause it for now.
You know, to follow on though, I know, you know, Charles has a lot to say about you. I'm going to give him the chance. Yeah, let me give him at least 30 seconds or 1 minute. Yeah.
I know first, before we go to follow on there, you know, Kaleti, I'm not sure when was the last time you were in Liberia, but, you know, and if you actually listen to what the government said, or in regards to this recent announcement, free education was not announced, and they said, we talked about free tuition. Never said free education. So, I know as we talk, I know we tend to send message out to people, I know, in the wrong connotation, to say free education. We mentioned free tuition, and tuition is not all your school fees. It's just a section of your school fees. Free tuition is not all your books. It is not everything, just tuition. It's a part of your school fees, not free education. So the first thing. And I hear he mentioned China and coming to be an industrial country. China and Liberia have completely different dynamics, demographics, and population, and culture, and the era, and during which China took itself, during the Cold War to what it is today was different from what Liberia is. We're in the 21st century. We're talking the 20th century, during the Cold War era. So we cannot compare Liberia to China, 1.3 billion population to 4 million population, and say, yeah, we look at China, China did this and became this, and we look at Cuba, and Cuba did this and became this. I think, we are really on a different, and he mentioned about
there is something coming out of that.
He also mentioned about entrances, like someone can come to the university and say, it's my right. There is entrance at the university. When you pass that entrance, then your tuition is free. You don't just walk in and say, it is my right, like he said, and that's when you can walk in and say, it is my right, because it said tuition free, so I can walk in, it's my right. No. There's entrance set by the university. If you pass the entrance to enter, then your tuition is free, not your school fees.
Okay.
So,
Chairman,
to consider,
I don't want to keep going around this issue of tuition and, free education and stuff. You understand me? I'm a Liberian. So if you say you attend the University of Liberia and then someone tells you you have free tuition, knowing that we don't buy books in UL. You buy whether government say free or not, you go down, you go up this place, you get your own book, they give you handout, whether it's free or not, you pay for it. I attended Cottington. Cottington that you say, okay, is a private institution. You understand? Well, all the tuition we pay is that we have library, we have this. At the end result, when the instructor brings his handout, they say, you guys have to pay for it. Go up, become that you pay for it. You understand? So let us just start playing around this thing and try to be honest with ourselves here. What we're discussing is more about the country. Now, I don't have any personal issue with the government. You understand? My issue is with the system. You understand me? So the issue of entrance entering the University of Liberia, when I first got to Liberia, the first entrance I took was AMEU. The second was UL. You understand? So, if I'm in the hall is where they establish, the fear, that heebie-jeebie, that you just see someone walk out and be like, you kill white chicken, red blood. I'm just trying to quote some of the things that I heard in the exam hall. And then I saw people did exam especially math, they didn't do essay, and those people that name came out. How did that happen? You understand? So with all my thing I had in myself, I promised myself that I'm not going to attend University of Liberia because I know myself is a mess, even though I passed the entrance. So that's where I got interested in going to Cottington, rural Liberia. So this is a situation where we know the problems in the country, but we don't want to be honest with ourselves. Fact like Harvard said, you know, in an article called Men with Our Chest, you have to be honest with yourself before being honest with society. So we cannot play around this thing and think that because it is political, so we want to, you know, gain some relevance out there and stuff. I'm not trying to be, you know, another person or another. I'm not even on record of speaking against government. Even when I was in Liberia, all my struggles I did was with LINSU and student community, and when it comes to social issue and when it comes to how do you call it, humanitarian stuff, it wasn't to stay on radio and attack, you know, politicians or insult people. That's not my thing. My thing is being honest with the Liberian people.
All right, let's go to Falo. I know he likes to talk about struggles a lot, so you know. So Falo, this is the thing though. I don't still know where I'm standing, so you know I'm not for or against, but everybody is saying one thing. Like, you know, Charles was saying something. I wanted to intervene when he said that he was saying that Kennedy said, "Oh, China was this, they did this, and they became this."
Yeah,
yes.
So, I mean, just
I'll get to you on that. But you know, I wanted to ask him, even though I'll ask him that question later. They did something before they became where they are today.
As big as China
so that
is.
means you got to do something before you become someone, right? So my question to you now is, if Judge Weah, that is Mr. President, does not introduce the system of free tuition, how are we going to get it? Everybody keeps saying, oh, you know, the timeliness, this, that. If somebody doesn't do it, how is it going to be effective, though?
Thank you.
Yeah.
We said the timeliness and not the offer. Our problem is with the timeliness. Yeah. So we believe that the offer of a free tuition is something good.
So
but there are mechanisms
but when did
good.
You expect him to do
and that's
it?
what we are saying. There are mechanisms that are needed to be put into place. Like my brother Redley said, right now the University of Liberia, people are still, the library, the University of Liberia library, you still find 1969 books. And students who do engineering are expected to go and do research in that book to be able to apply it in today's temporary or contemporary world of engineering. Because the president said the reason for this offer is for Liberia to be able to partake in her own economy, have her engineers or doctors. One of the challenges most of our doctors or nurses have got is the use of the tools or the equipment now. The equipment that are being used now in contemporary countries are not available in Liberia. So our nurses and doctors do not even have idea on those tools. And so he graduated or she graduated with a BSc in nursing, and when he gets to the hospital and see this equipment, he don't know where to start from. So
I'm Minister of Education for that?
No, I'm saying those are things that need to be put into place first before you go into providing it. You provide a free tuition, and when the child gets there, he's not going to get a quality education. It becomes useless. The tuition becomes useless. Now, I was just telling someone, like he said, he gave emphasis on the tuition aspect and that school fee. And it's laughable. It's like a lawmaker in Liberia telling his constituents that since you elected me as representative, my 6-year tuition, salary is for the district. This lawmaker makes $15,000 United States dollars monthly, but in that $15,000, he only has got 1,500 or its equivalent in Liberian dollars as a salary. And the people, all the ignorant, will be happy. Oh, the man love what he has given us the money he's working for. 13,500 US dollars is going back to that man monthly because, get me right, he said my salary. He didn't say my benefits or my entitlement. So giving 1,500 or 13,000, all of 15,000, when you will not do anything, you will not do what you were elected for, it's playing mockery all of your people.
Yeah, but a quick question to you though. Listening to the president the last time, and he said this, he said, the students came in front of my office to complain that the administrators have increased the tuition in the school. I was not happy about that. So the students did not go to the president to complain about the books that they have. They did not go to the president to complain about the quality of the education that they are having. They did not go to the president to complain about anything else but the increase in the tuition. So what did you expect the president to do other than responding to what they came and asked?
Because it's like your child comes to you and say, Papa, I want to go to school, but I need book for my school. You as a parent need to know that the child needs more than book for going to school and not just book. And you're not saying, oh, because he only asked me for book, so it's no book I'm responsible to give him. The kids in Africa or in Liberia don't know the difference between
at the level of
don't know the difference between tuition. Sorry for using the word kid.
No,
but even people at the university, some of them don't even know the difference between tuition.
Would that be all of them?
No, it may not be. It may not be all of them.
Like,
but get me right. If the government itself can see that tuition is what they ask me for, and that's why I should give to them, then what do you, and you know that tuition is not all that they need. Then what do you say about that? What do you say about that?
You know, before I do the test,
and then I come in.
Before I do that, I want to ask you about this. So the government is trying to prioritize something. They won't do everything at once.
Yeah.
And now they are looking at the table, saying, okay, this is what the students brought to us. This is what we have on mind. But it will make more sense for us to do what they are asking for because they are the ones in school and they know exactly. It's like you in America here. Somebody back home asking you to do something and then you're looking at it like, I am in America. I know what's going on here. You're not here and then you keep complaining. I know what's going on. So they are in school. They know what's going on. And they are asking for the president for tuition. They are not asking the president for books. They are not asking the president for quality education. So how would you blame the president?
And you know what you just did just now? Yeah. You became very unfair to the students of Liberia.
Okay.
Because the student populace of Liberia is not the University of Liberia.
I know.
And according to the president's quotation, he was making reference to University of Liberia students going to him. And let me just tell you something. The university, when the University of Liberia students went to him, I come in now. When the University of Liberia,
of the University of Liberia,
but the University of Liberia student request did not reflect the students of public universities in Liberia. So if you want to use that as a yardstick,
the last time students from other universities went to the president to ask for books and other things?
If you ask me that, I will tell you just recently, even just yesterday when the president was in Banga, again. Students of the Bong County Technical College went to the president with a request asking for the completion of the community college that is being built there. So the issue is good. So from that point now, the argument would be now students are also asking this government for facilities that they can use for sound and learning.
Let's go to Chester. I feel like this is going to go a little over an hour, and I don't mind. So, but let's hear from Chester first.
No,
this is going to be interesting.
Let me tell you something.
Yeah.
Do you know what made grasshopper to be more industrious today?
No, tell us.
Honeybee is more industrious today because of the advice that he heard grasshopper mother telling grasshopper.
Love that.
What am I trying to say?
Good one.
This brother is saying that the student went to George Weah to request textbook. That takes me back to my point. As a president, if the people come to you to talk about textbook, you are fully aware of the situation in the country. Okay, the student come to me for textbook, but I need to pay more attention to this. Is it only textbook they need?
That's the question.
What's the problem? What's going on? If I provide textbook, can it solve the situation at the University of Liberia? Can it solve the situation in our educational system at large? My father is a teacher. I'm a son of a teacher. My father taught in Liberia for over 40 years. Since I was born, that old man been teaching until I took him from Liberia. That old man doesn't have anything that he can point to tell you, teaching in Liberia, this is what I earned. Teachers in Liberia have been paid very low. And that's one of the reasons why we're in the mess we're in today when it comes to our education system. Teachers are sleeping with, students are sleeping with teachers for grade. Why? Because this little girl sells cold water to pay her school fee. She don't want to repeat the class. She don't have material to study to pass. So at the end of the day, what does she do? She gave her body for grade and she moved on to the next level. Is that little girl educated enough for the next class? No. What can we do, Mr. President? Let's beef up our education system. I want to ask my brother Charles here, where are we now with the teachers that were coming from Nigeria?
The 6,000 teachers, huh?
Where are we with that?
Okay.
Now, can you please throw a little light, free tuition? If a child is in Maryland He heard about free tuition. He's done with 12th grade. That child doesn't even have the first transportation to come to Monrovia to even say, I'm going to take University of Liberia entrance to get free tuition. Do you think the president's pronouncement is fair to that child? Do we have university in, do we have public university in Bapolu for a child to go to get free tuition? Do we have it in Bon County? Do we have it in Buchanan?
Yes.
Okay. You will answer that, but before you answer that, I think I have a question for Chester and Fallon as well. So this is President We Are Here. I know you are a member of CDC, so you probably may not say a lot about this, but more people will always say the president is not educated. That's the first thing that we want to say, or they will want to say. The second thing is, they all say he was a high school dropout. He did not attend university in Liberia, unless somebody wants to prove me wrong. So how in this world do you expect the president to know about the books that are in those schools? You have the Ministry of Education. The minister is not doing his work, but you want to blame the president for that. A president who did not attend any public university in Liberia to know that the priority is books and other things, but not tuition.
No, I would say I blame him.
Can I respond?
Yeah, how do you blame him?
Because appointment should be based on competence and not political accommodation. If the president is appointing people into various areas of trust, it should be people who are viable and knowledgeable about those areas. You understand? So I'm not saying that he does not have those kind of people at times. Like, for example, the current Education Minister of the Republic of Liberia, Dr. Ansu Soni, he's a professor. I mean, the last position he held in government was in Liberia was the vice president for administration at the University of Liberia. So he's more knowledgeable about the treasury, the difficulties in terms of education at a higher level in Liberia than anybody. So I'm saying, like you asking the question, in his statement, he spoke of him and name the Liberian people and that of. Now, there are two ways you do that. Either through legislation, by law, through the legislature, or through country-wide dialogue and come up with a clear-cut policy. Within the 8 to 9 months, I've not heard that this government, through the Education Ministry, have gone to the 15 counties to hold dialogue before coming up, formulating this. So the president's statement, that's why I say it's more political, because it did not reflect.
You just said you blame the president.
Yes.
And then you said that when the president is appointing people, the appointment should be
based on competence and not political accommodation.
And then, now, you're also saying that Ansu Soni is very knowledgeable when it comes to the university.
Exactly so.
Now having that Ansu Soni man as a minister of education,
based on what reason? Based on accommodation.
On the table for the president, because if the president can listen to the students, what do you think about him listening to the minister of education? That means Ansu Soni did not put anything on the table in front of the president.
And so that means that
the president, this is what we do.
That means that the president should not speak
on going to him, but not the president.
No, that means that's why.
Yeah, we'll go to Charles and then to you, because I think Chester asked Charles some questions.
Let me just
let him address those.
Chester, I'm not sure what was the question you asked.
The 6,000 teacher was one of them.
Oh yeah, okay, that was one. Okay, so I'll start with Fallon first because you spoke first.
Yeah,
and he used the proportion first of salary of a legislature coming and saying that I make 15,000, or give you guys 1,000. $1 million is what we are collecting in tuition. $800,000 to $1 million a year.
For the University of Liberia?
Yes, in tuition.
For the University of Liberia?
Yes. Okay, the budget for the university is between $16 million to $20 million. The government budget is well over $600 million. When is it necessary to take $1 million as a waiver for students? When is it something hard to wrap your head around? $1 million. Okay. So is it something hard to wrap your head around? That's just one thing. Yeah. So then I'll come to Chester here.
The 6,000 teachers was one of them.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to address, because I'm not with the Ministry of Education to know where they are and who's assigned to that project. And I'm only speaking in general for the government. So I will not know the details. If what was mentioned, or where are the teachers on this topic today, I would have make some calls and give you some answers, and I'll be more than willing to provide you those answers coming soon. But you did mention about your father teaching for 40 years in Liberia, and you said one of the problems is they're not paying them, and if they were paying them, everything would be solved.
I didn't say everything will be solved.
Okay, let's remember that the government did not come to declare to say all of Liberia's or university problems will be solved by the tuition. The government only made a single move to alleviate a portion of Liberian people's suffering, to say tuition will be off, we'll write it off. They didn't say that we are solving all university problems. To say, oh, it will be unfair to a student who didn't have university in Bapolu to come and say why they will take how they will come to Monrovia to go to school. How have they been managing before?
Oh, wow.
People have been going to school, right? People have been graduating from school. Let's be honest. People have been going to school. The university have been graduating students. Is this not an additional help? How have people been going to school? That today, Liberia will just come up and say, hey, and no tuition, no other fees, nothing, everything should just be. If you say that, people are already crying that, why you took out $1 million? Let alone come and say every other thing is free. People jump on the roof and start climbing on the roof. The same people. They really don't know where they stand or what they want.
Okay.
If someone can take a portion, you mentioned your father teaching for 40 years. If they were paying them, it would have solved most of the problem. Okay, we are paying legislature very high amount of money.
Okay.
We are paying legislature. Has it solved the issue of corruption in Liberia? With the high amount of money that everybody complain that they pay legislature. So we pay teachers, let's say we pay them 10 times the salary.
All right.
You know,
So let's
where's the problem?
Yeah, let's hear from Kennedy quickly. And then
Yeah,
I want to quote something before I
This
get
thing
to you
is
guys.
getting interesting, you know.
So,
You know, I overheard something that if you have over 600 millions of budget and you just take 1 million out of it and pay something and blah blah blah. So the thing here is, that's a policeman theory of, you know,
Well,
I mean, expenditure. Like he feels that when he goes on the traffic, he gets this money from a taxi driver. The next day you still get some. So what the essence of me not spending this one today?
Government has authority
So
measures.
it doesn't work like that. And I also want to make a statement about what you said previously about George. We are not, you know, being
attending
and
universities in
stuff.
Liberia, yeah.
They pronounce it as a doctor, and I won't allow you say that.
Honorary doctorate degree.
Yeah.
I'm coming.
Don't say, yeah.
Honorary, not honorary.
He's an alumni of Covington now.
Thank you.
Okay,
So,
so
that's my
So you
senior
can
scorpion.
guys
You know, I graduated from
And
Covington. So you
that was
call
a
me.
private university, though,
Okay.
not a public one. So,
Now, on the other hand,
Yeah.
you made mention of what I previously said about China, you know, taking, you know,
Yeah.
the population out of this thing. Looking at a country like China, like how big China is, the population of China, comparing that with that of Liberia, how many years it takes to get Liberia out of illiteracy? Cuba, they took less than 5 years. Today, Cuba have one of the best medical doctors in the world. They didn't get out through aid. You know what I'm saying? They got it through technical crafts.
Merit-based
You have
system.
smart people in the country. You have policies. You have people that write. I've seen some of those things. Also, you understand?
monopoly on
Yeah, at the same
So,
time.
those things are there.
Yeah.
But yet still people just go and make pronouncements based on their own personal feelings. You don't want government like that. You know what I'm saying? The 3 branches of government, you consult. You know, those serve as watchdogs on each other. So, a lawmaker sitting in the house, and then the president goes and pronounces free tuition. The next one he hears it on the radio. How? Because University of Liberia students. So what happens to people that are in Cotton? You know that almost 75% of the students in Cotton, they own other scholarship or something. Where those funds come from?
Okay.
So,
Okay.
and
Well,
he said people don't complain. When I was in Cotton, anytime I said visit Cotton, we have a placard. Subsidy increment.
Yeah.
You understand? The institution will not have much population. So how do you expect the institution to run? Not just because they have other universities in Liberia. Now, coming down to the high school system, with the salary thing the brother made mention of, how do you expect someone to sustain a family if they're making $1,530? You understand?
Okay.
Because our government institution.
Yeah.
Now, the colleges that was initiated by the former president, Madam Sali, there are some of them up to now, they are still not even up to the level. You understand? What are mechanisms you put into place to make sure that those colleges are completed? And those budgetary allotment that are making for the lawmakers, that that initiating some of the high school or junior high school in their various districts? What are things you're doing to make sure that those things are on record and they are doing the actual things?
So, quick question, maybe a yes or no question. Do you think the president is getting ahead of himself?
Way ahead of himself.
Okay. And then, I just want to quote something here, which was from the vice president for the University of Liberia Relations, Anthony Norris. So he said this, after the president's pronouncement. He said, so now that the president is paying for tuition for all of the students, this is going to be a direct income coming straight to the university. He is the game changer in terms of financing the university. So, for instance, for 20,000 students, if all of them take 15 credits per hour, I am just assuming we will be talking approximately 1.2 million US dollars that the government will be giving us, So, just right there, because he spoke about $1 million something.
Yeah.
If they took
this guy is just talking about, and that is just a semester.
Yes.
I used to do that 21.
And he is talking about 1.2 million. So then we know for sure 1 million is like off the class. Because the 20 million, the 20,000 was due to the fact that people used to pay money as tuition. But now that you are making it free, you expect more than that number. So and then you expect more credit from these students.
But the reason is, now that they're making it free, people never used to take some people took 4 credits, some people took 6 credits, some people took 15 credits, some people took 10 credits. Okay? Now that it is free, people can be more emboldened to take more credit because they know it will be paid for, right?
Are you thinking
so I told you that the government, the school was collecting between $800,000 to $1 million in tuition. And most of those students were not sometimes paid. Now that it is free, you will find that people will take high amount of credits and the government will still be able to pay for it. So that's why he said 1.2 million, right above the 1 million or below the 1 million that they were already making.
And what are the classrooms?
So let me address.
These two gentlemen had something to address. I'm going to give you the chance, but let's go to follow first.
Let me tell you something.
One of the issues that he
was jot that down. You respond to that. Donso, let me tell you something.
And I can request for more time.
Let me tell you something. At the University of Liberia, there are some students who had to drop because of financial and economic conditions. And like we said, research before making policies is important. Is the government of Liberia aware of how many students that are now ready to seek readmission because of the free tuition? I think that is not taken into consideration because they are Anthony Norris Tuer is speaking of the current enrollment at the University of Liberia. But because of the pronouncement, you will get to know that those that are already members or students of the University of Liberia but had to drop will start to seek readmission. And you can't deny them. They ain't got to go take entrance for that. You will not deny them of that. I can tell you that there will be an increment more than that. That's one aspect. Like I told you here, you cannot use the University of Liberia as a pilot project for the entire public universities in Liberia. I just wrote down 7 public universities public colleges in Liberia. You have the Bomi County Community College, you have the Grand Bassa County Community College, you have the Bon County Technical College, you have the Nima County Community College, the Tottenham University in Maryland, the Lofa County Community College, and the University of Liberia. You understand? Those are the 7 universities. And you use the 20,000 student plea from the University of Liberia to make available 1 million.
He said 1 million.
1 million for tuition free for public universities in Liberia. How sincere is that? How realistic is that? This is a recipe of chaos or conflict in our country.
I don't know where it
because when the money is only adjusted, it's only used in the University of Liberia, Bon County students will stand up. Nima County students will stand up. And other community colleges that feel that they're supposed to benefit from this will stand up. And so that's why we say you need to do research.
So just to add on what you say.
Understand?
Hold on. So what you wanted me to add up? And I'm not even addressing.
So I'm just adding on something quick.
I wanted to have a follow-up question, but I was going to Chester and him, and then we will go to the two of you. So I'm talking about the sustainability here, because you know, many a times, like I was asking him if the president is getting ahead of himself. We have seen in many cases, I am not really someone who speaks against this government a lot, but we have seen in so many cases where there were always groundbreakings. Like, you know, every time you look, they say, oh, there is a groundbreaking somewhere. The president will do this. And then that ground is going to be broken and it will never come back up again.
Because
so, you know, we talk about the island,
You know,
that was going to be a modern city, and it will be called the New Monrovia or something. We haven't heard much of that. The military hospital, we haven't heard much of that. The 6,000 students, Charles couldn't give any account on that.
Teachers.
I mean, our students, our teachers. I mean, the current status, this 16 billion, FBI was supposed to investigate, but then at the end of the day, that just died down. So, do you really think this is even going to go far, though?
Well, thank you very much, Donzo. And I want to say here, Charles is not an official spokesman for the government.
Yeah.
And we are just giving our opinion here on issues arising from our mausoleum. But the government have the opportunity. The government is just 9 months into power, into office, and they can still sit down and see where they want to take this thing. That's why when I spoke here earlier, I said, Josh, we made a very nice statement, but it wasn't timely. And I don't know whether tuition free came out of the context because the University of Liberia student went to him, or he sat down and called his Minister of Education and said, look, let's look at the education system in the country.
Yeah, he said the students went to him.
Yeah, so if you're going to act because people will come to him, then I don't know where the country is heading to. Military hospital in Liberia. I don't want to divert our discussion here into something different, but look at redemption. Look at JFK. Is it necessary for a military hospital if the ones that we have right now can't even do anything? Just day before yesterday, my older sister in Liberia, her son got sick. In less than 3 days, the labor died. Wow. I don't want to divert our conversation, but let's stick to the education system here. So, to answer your question, the government of Liberia still have enough time. And we are appealing to the honorable president. President, take your time. It's 6 years into office. If you do good, we're going to give you another 6 years. Taking care of the people is not jing-jang. And that's why some of us were saying from the beginning, playing soccer is different from leading the people. Now you are in office. We respect you. We give you all our support. But take your time. Do what is right. Consult people. Don't make decisions because few students from the university run up to you and say, we need textbooks. The next day you go on campus, tuition free. One of the things that pissed me off when the president went to the University of Liberia, for classes to be suspended. Why? Why should people not learn because the president is coming to the University of Liberia? What's the point of that? Anyway, but to answer your question, the president get enough time.
You know, all right. I know Charles really wants to address some of these things. So
you coming seek for sympathy here now?
I'm trying to respond to most of it. We have 3 different opponents, and I have to respond to at least a section.
Do you want us to add? He wants to deal with these two first, and then we'll get to
CDC people can use some words. 3 different opinions, not opponents.
I think did you say opposition?
No, he said opponents. Yeah, we are just opinions here.
I think you can be opinion.
All right.
So here's it. Or let me.
I thought I was on the floor, Chairman.
No, it's me.
All right. So let's give the chance to address that. Yeah.
You know what, Liberians? It is just not our conversation.
Yeah.
Liberians are amazing type of people.
Wow.
Okay. Ellen Johnson said he was running.
Especially the CDC.
You never heard people, and everybody was not making decisions on how government should be run. I never said until I became president. Everybody on every talk show knows how to run a government.
You're not being fair. You're not being fair to us.
They lay out, this is what it's supposed to be. You're supposed to do this. You're supposed to do this. And he's not doing this. Then the next person comes their own. You're supposed to start from R to spell Liberia. The next person comes, the Republic start with C. You're not supposed to do this way. So everybody now has government experience on how to run a country. Out of a sudden. So one thing, you know, I want to say here is it's quite amazing. When even Chester said, one thing pissed me off. Why people had to stop learning? Because the president went to the university. When you were in school in Liberia, even when the superintendent came,
is that best practice?
So does it make it right?
Huh?
Is that best practice?
When elementary schools in America here, when officials come, they can gather all the children in the gym. It don't mean they cancel the entire school process. When an official show up, you do that. And I went to school in Liberia. When people come, when guests come, they can take one out from the classroom. We'll come outside.
Which was not good.
And we'll be happy because the fact that we're not learning that day.
Okay.
That's a break for us. We all know. So when does it become
I
an issue that the system is learning? Because the
Those are the ills, and that's why you want us to continue with? You want us to continue with the backup?
Yeah, but can I think before I give that to you? So Chad said two things that were really amazing. You know, yeah, no, we can keep going. Yeah. So one of the things that you said was, you know, you will be happy on that day because you are not learning.
So it doesn't make it right.
So that
As
means
a-
you are
as a
not.
kid,
Yeah.
when I was coming up.
Oh yeah.
We're talking
But
about
then
university
you
here.
as a kid, even not a grown up, but as a kid, you knew that you were not learning that day. So a grown up should definitely know that he's not learning when he is stopped from going, right? You know, into classes, right?
Yeah.
So do you think it is right though that you wouldn't be learning just because you want to go listen to your president, even though you know that this president can go on the national TV and make these announcements and everybody will be able to hear it?
Do you think,
Okay, we make it
do
through
I
the
think it
educational-
is right that I will not be learning? It is not that I was not learning.
No, I did not
Because
say you were not learning. Do you think it will be right?
Academic exposure is one thing. There are lots of ways people can learn.
Yeah.
People, you have to
And I
make people
wonder.
gather outside. There are a lot of exposure to education. So to say that sitting in the class and because they remove it from the class that you're not learning is not true.
If I am doing
But we
mathematics, I'm
perceive
doing
it-
chemistry,
yeah.
going to go listen to the president, do you really think I will be able to know 1 + 1 just from listening
No,
to the
you
president?
would-
Number one. Number two, just because somebody is doing it, does that mean it is right to do it? Because you said that, oh, you know, when we were small, the superintendent would come, they will stop the classes.
Yes.
You know, in the United States here,
Yeah.
something will happen, they will do this. Doing it, does that mean that it is right to do it?
Yes, it's right.
Wow.
Just because somebody is doing it, right?
Definitely.
All
No,
right.
not just because someone is doing it,
Yeah.
but it is right when people come, you must recognize, you must make, you know, even the next generation of children, when they see, you know, officials come, I mean, they will follow suit. I mean, it is not a wrong thing. There are
And
lots
this,
of ways.
and this arrival of the president on the campus of the university
did not stop
was
education.
it announced beforehand that people could
Yes.
know that the president was coming on the campus on
Yes,
so and so
it
day?
was announced.
Okay, all right, let me go to Kennedy and then we'll get to you
The
later.
student body was made aware, and the administration was
I'm-
made aware.
Okay.
So I think we should try to settle down with the brother a little because I'm seeing on his list, my name is #1 on his list.
You're not going
And he didn't even address
Yeah.
it.
I have not even addressed.
So,
Yeah, he's here,
So,
yeah.
but it's okay. Let's
Let's try to go down.
All right,
so,
so-
what I want to say is
Yeah.
this. I'm a Georgia fan, you understand me? I attended refugee schools, and especially when I was in ESA, Weir name was one of the names that I used to feel proud of whenever I say I'm from Liberia, you know. So growing up with those things, and Samuel Tuetu, the minister,
Minister of Finance.
I read the minister a lot, some of his writings, you know, his articles and stuff. So, I mean, we have those competent people in the government. And another thing I also realized is his kindness, the president. He's so kind to the extent that, you know, the kindness is overshadowing his function. You understand? And my problem too with those people that are working around him, probably because they fear losing their job, they don't want to be honest with him. Getting me? So if you have a plan as a president, and then you bring up, you know, such proposal, let the Ministry of Finance be able to back that thing with his knowledge, you know, his technical experience. You getting me? So all the whole vision stuff we had in the past, you know, the vision 2030, the blah blah blah, all those things are still there. You understand? They have time frame of achieving those things. That's the reason we call it government of continuity. So if this government is fading out, the next government that is coming in should know how to work with those things. So if you want to kick everything aside, then you want to harm the government because the budgetary allotment first, it went down. It was around 8 million. when the government came, it rose up to 560 something million. So they had those, documents, those policies in place within a framework of the budget. You understand? So if you come in, as a system or a government, try to review those policies or those documents, take the best one out of them, the ones that are legislated, take them and add it on your vision for the country in consultation with the three arms of government, if possible, the citizenry of the country. You understand? Mm-hmm. But those things, we didn't see any. Now, you are new in a house. Now you want to control the house. And you met people in the house. You understand? You said the government is new, less than 9 months. So in less than 9 months, where are you coming from with all those things about free tuition and stuff?
Yeah, but that was part of the policies, though. So when George Weah was coming into power, when he needed people to vote for him, all he said to people was that he's going to get rid of poverty. He's going to make sure that Liberians do not suffer anymore. Then now this is what he's doing.
So let me bring something. I'm not in it. Let me bring something. You see, the former president of Burkina Faso, you have Thomas Sankara. This guy got into office with a military regime. This guy made sure he cut down the expenditure of the government. Government officials, they never used to ride first class, or the economic class. He had a statement that says, if you get in a plane from the economic class and someone that is in a first class, you all arrive at the same time. You understand? Now, apart from that, the vehicles that they use, everything was cheap. You understand? So he said no one is going to use the government money to enrich themselves. But this guy came into office, quote unquote, Pro-Poor agenda or Pro-Poor manifesto. We've seen in his office, the budget for the office have increased from that of Madam Serif that we consider as the bourgeois government, that they ate the
she was anti-poor, right? Not pro-poor.
Yeah, so that ate the Liberian money. But this is more managing almost 15 million up to 17 million, and yours is up to 21 point something million. So
do you think that the pro-poor agenda is not for Liberian people?
What I think is, these guys, they are not being realistic to the Liberian people.
Looking at the pro-poor agenda, before I go to the next two persons here, looking at the pro-poor agenda and looking at the likes of Eugene Fagon, even though I didn't want to mention too many names, but he's one of my men that I always give hard time to. Looking at Eugene Fagon and others that will go to the Kobo shop with the president to eat there. They say they are promoting the pro-poor agenda. And then Eugene Fagon on a Sunday will take the axe and go to split wood, telling people, so this is pro-poor. Do you really think that's what we mean by pro-poor? Because I asked him, I said, what's the meaning of your, what's your understanding of the pro-poor agenda? Because if you are doing things like this and then telling people, say, this is the pro-poor way of doing things, I thought we were supposed to get rid of these things. Help people to get, to eradicate poverty, but you coming out to imitate those people, it's like you're making mockery out of them. Yeah. Instead of trying to help them to, get rid of.
So, like what he said about we never spoke when it comes to Madam Serif government. And now, because the government is in power, so everybody wants to know the meaning of politics or definition of Liberia and stuff. That's being unfair to us. You understand?
Right. I don't think it's so. We have exhausted many of these issues.
Let me just conclude.
This is what I want to do. Because, we've already discussed a lot. No. We still have a lot to discuss, but this is what I want us to do. I want us to try to conclude, because I know most of you guys have places to go. The plan was to be here for 30 minutes. We did increase it to an hour. Now we have increased it a little over an hour. So I'm going to give you guys a chance to conclude, and then probably that can end the program, but I'll give you the chance. So you speak whatever you have on your mind, and then after that we go to the next person. And how about that?
Thank you so much. Yeah. And I guess it started with me, so we end with me. This has been a healthy discussion. Everybody around this table have not spoken against the good intentions of the president and the government of Liberia. We want to proffer some level of recommendations and suggestions and opinion on what we think is necessary to be done. He may not agree with everything we've said, but I also don't want him to take something, or those around him that will be watching this, to take something from it as these are people that are opposing the government, because we are now opposing the government. Sure. We believe that proper research leads to successful policy implementation. Even the yardstick for telling us that 6 million for the the 12th graders were fees, WIAC fee, 12 million, right? Which is 2 million for each year. We don't even know the yardstick. When was a survey conducted to determine that the student population, the 12th grader of Liberia, would be static for 6 good years?
LIPA provides
I understand.
information.
Well, we need to check that out because I don't know where LIPA got it from. When even LIPA will not even, did not even go through the study. You can give me the source of that. But basically, our interest is that, like we said, the intention. I remember in 2013, not former Representative Akaras Gray, who was then opposition, made a very good recommendation to the president and to his colleagues in the House that the issue, the challenge that was put forth to university students in Liberia needed to be addressed from the perspective of providing student loan. So the government should appropriate funding and provide it to commercial banks so that university students could go there and take those loans. At the time, the university, the whole tuition would be around $175 for 15 credits and what have you. And so university will go and take, because like I said, this opportunity comes with responsibility. If you took student loan to go to school and you know that you're going to pay back that loan, you're going to put in time to your studies so that at the end of the day, you will not spend more time to take more loan and be owing a lot of money. So you will do it quickly to leave from there. Where is that idea? And now Honorable Gray was just appointed to the board of the University of Liberia before the president came up with this tuition-free thing. So where is that idea that he put forth to the United Party-led government that he could not put forth now to this government? The issue of county educational council system is in place in Liberia under the Mancini government. Every county, before it used to be CEO and DEOs, but now they got the county council that comprises of prominent citizens of various counties to sit down around the table and come up with a monthly and biannual updates on their educational challenges, and those things are sent down to the education ministry and it reflects into policies and things like that. Are they still unfolding? Are they being quoted into these things and into this discussion? I said no, because we do not see consultations from those perspectives. So we are not against the good intention of the president, but we are also, and we who are speaking these things are simply saying, Mr. President, we don't want you to fail. We don't want you to be seen as a failure. That's why we are pointing out these things. Because at the end of the day, he will be noted in Liberia as the president with the highest promise to the Liberian people. He's not no longer in campaign mood. In fact, during the campaign mood, the president did not make promises. That's why he did not attend a lot of debates and things. If he even attended some, I did not remember he attended a lot of debates because he did not make promises. So at this time, he should not be making promises. He is not in a position to implement promises or what he had got on his mind. And implementation is not based on just grabbing the haphazard. As I speak to you now, the issue of tuition free for University of Liberia is not the solution to the tuition financial problem that students are faced with in universities in Liberia. Because not only the University of Liberia. So what about other private institutions? I mean, you do not have the space to make everybody leave from, Cottontown, from UMU, from AMU to come to the University of Liberia to benefit from the free tuition. So you have to, when you're making your educational policy, when you're presenting it to the people, and you can't present in haphazard. When you're presenting it, you present one package of documents to the people. Address the issue of primary institutions, address the issue of public institutions in your country, and address the issue of technical issue of vocational institutions in your country, because that's one of the major things that we're holding on to. There are some people that may not be in the position to go to universities now, but they too can go to technical and vocational schools. What are the programs? Should people from MVDC, quote unquote, come again to the president with an appeal to the foreign ministry or to the executive mansion before he can come up with an announcement again to MVDC and give one and school be closed for that day? No. It should be packaged. That's what we think, and we think if that is done, our country is going to be better.
Thank you.
So I just want to thank you for affording me the opportunity and time to be here, and my phone is open to you for further discussion and future interactions.
And I personally hope that we can do something right after this one. So Chester, to you.
Well, thank you very much for the time you afforded me here. We had a very fruitful discussion, and as we all said, George, we all love the country. He got a very kind heart towards Liberia. But I want to say to the president, as I said earlier, the president have time, the government have time. Let the government take his time. We are not, the Liberian people are not in campaign where you keep promising them. And at the end of the day, the same people that say Hosanna, Hosanna, the same people will say crucify. Joshua is a very lovable man. We love him. I mean, some of us didn't want him to be president, but now he's president, and we're going to do everything we can do to support him because Liberia comes first.
Definitely.
At the end of the day, we're going to look at Liberia and say, what have we achieved? And in the same token, I want to say thanks to the president for the road project. They're doing very well with the road. And 4 or 5 months from now, when we look back, there will be a lot of roads. And we'll be able to say, oh, the government did well.
Yeah.
But on line of the education system, we want the president to take time. Let's go back and revisit some of these things. There are a lot of schools in Liberia that don't have good running water, no electricity. And when we talk about free tuition, I know people looking at Monrovia, but I want to stretch it outside of Monrovia. Some children don't even have a fitting blackboard. If you go to some of the places, you see the school building, you say, is this a government school? Let the president go back there. Let the government stretch their arm. Let them look beyond what we see in Monrovia. Free tuition is not a bad thing. But is the educational system up to standard for free tuition? That's where I'm coming from. And before I close, the CDC was on the street almost every day demonstrating during Ellen government. So if the brothers say during Ellen time people wasn't saying anything, that's not true. CDC had cast in the street of Monrovia. Sure. CDC had a big underwear in their hand. They said it was Eddie Penty.
Sound to that.
We all saw those things. We all saw it. So now people might come from a different angle, not holding caskets, not taking unleashed on the street. But we are all still discussing the issue. So thank you very much for the time. And Charles, I know we knocked the hammer on your head, but
I think the
Honorable Chairman, we love you. We love CDC. And anytime, any hour, my phone is open.
No problem.
You and I, we are friends of Costa, and
definitely.
we'll still meet on the other side again. Thank you so much.
100%. Thank you. All right, Charles, to you.
My name is still on it.
And then I feel like Kennedy should go first.
Please stamp him.
Yeah, Kennedy should go first because Charles might have something to say when you speak. So you go first.
The chairman really want you me for me. So anyway, I want to say thank you for every one of us that came here today, left our schedules, and my thing of the government, I have nothing personal against the government. I'm a Liberian, I love my country, and we should see the best, for our people. So the thing here today is, we kind of dialogue, find solution for our problem. So I have a different mindset when it comes to running government. I have this way back, if you may call it, revolutionary mindset. So with that, I'm also an economist. So I believe in a Marxist theory. So equal distribution of wealth, among the citizenry. So if we find ourselves sitting here today and then discussing the country of Liberia, it's not about because we want to be able to discuss politics. It's about one's love for his country.
Sure.
Yeah. So in Liberia now, for the trajectory we see, the country on. So it is important that we discuss issues so that let the president know that, we have some people that look beyond, that actually wants, the best for the country. And that happens when, he have the listening ears, to listen to people. Being a president is difficult, we know, because you have a lot of people saying stuff. Sometimes you might see some as crazy and some you might see as important. But sometimes the important ones might be the crazy one, because if it coincides with your interest, then it becomes a problem for the country. So my advice to them is that let them take their time to deal with the Liberian people, to manage the resources of our country, and then also to the Liberian people, let us all try to support this government and put aside this party thing. I have never been a partisan of any political party in Liberia all the years I spent in Liberia. So, and I don't think I'm on record for it. So my brother here, Chairman, I wish to work with you, so that
we'll have more discussions.
So that we can discuss more valuable things when it comes to the upliftment of the country. President please, tell him, please take your time. We're not rushing you. You got 6 years, if possible. You guys said 12 years straight, no stopping. So you have to take your time. So I just want to stop there.
And I think you just gave Charles a chance to convince you to join CDC after telling him that you haven't been a partisan of any party. So now he's thinking like, and I'm hoping on this. Hopefully I can get it work, but I want to trim all the parts that the people are, you guys are addressing the president. And I'm friend with Sam Manners. Sometimes we exchange messages, so I can kind of put them together and send it, send it to him as a spokesperson for the government. So maybe if he can get that, to the president.
So now,
Charles to get that.
To just conclude,
yeah.
let the president take a look at those colleges, counties, because what happens is most of the people you see in those colleges, most of them want to come to Monrovia, but because of the overpopulation or overcrowdedness of the University of Liberia and the system in place over there, so they don't have the will to move to the city. But with the pronouncement, some of them, trust me, they want to leave your community college and come over there. So with the Ministry of Education, there's a huge burden on them. They have to sit down and think of a way on how to handle the issue of the city or University of Liberia being overcrowded. You understand? Because if you have the will, for instance, people say, communist country, they have problems and they don't encourage private businesses and stuff. So if you have a university at Cottington, and then you have the Beaufort Community College. So Cottington is not providing certain necessity for the students, but if you have the Beaufort Community Technical College, you have computer lab, you have all the modern equipment over there. By default, you don't have to tell the student of Cottington University to go to Beaufort Community College. No. You understand? No. So this is what we want to bring to the table. Mr. President, try to equip our colleges, try to encourage our students to go to school, and try to open the avenue for every Liberian to learn. Let us keep this illiteracy out of our country, because this is one of the issues that we face in our country. And trust me, with the population we have, with the love we see, from George Weah, we believe that he can do it. But he should take his time, review policies, and introduce his to meet the requirements of the Liberian people. Thank you very much.
All right, Charles. All eyes on you.
All eyes on me.
Second Parliament, Chairman.
No, it's not. I think we all have have love for Liberia.
Yeah, that's why we are here.
Trying to profess it in different ways.
We say the love of liberty brothers here, right? So the love of liberal brothers here today.
At the end of the day, we're all trying to suggest what would be good for the country or what could work. I mean, Fallon here first, disagreed that the timing was wrong, but his eventual thought process was, instead of giving it free to them, it's the wrong timing, but make it out of loan when they don't have jobs to even pay for that.
He said that was one of our Carol's statement.
Yes, but he said he agreed. So where is it and stuff like that. So people can say things. I wouldn't even think that it should even be an issue of loan. If you're subsidizing it and giving it to them, give it to them so that it can alleviate. You can't alleviate poverty of people by turning the money you give into a loan. It will be another chaos. From my own point of view. And Chester spoke, about a few other things, reaching rural area for education and stuff, and this immediate measure the government is taking. Basically it's temporary. It's a temporary measure to ensure. Yeah, it's temporary.
Is it 6 years?
The WIAC is for 6 years, but this. The first is a austerity measure they're taking, but it will continue. It's just where the funding is they're trying to establish. The government is reaching out to every county, by road. With the initiative of this government is to provide roads first. People will have the means to pay their children's school fees and other tuitions if you provide them the opportunity to earn money. It is not there. Everybody's cramped in Monrovia because you can't even get out of Monrovia freely. The next place that is stretched out of Monrovia, even up Nimba, is Ganta, where you stop. You take 2 hours, 30 minutes to hit Ganta. You can take your market from Ganta. People struggle all over Nimba County to get, so now they take 1 week on the road in the bush. Once you hit Ganta, 2 hours, you're in Monrovia. If you can reach out to other parts of the country, you alleviate suffering. Right now, you go to Ganta, in Monrovia, we have one of the highest electricity payment in the world. When you go to Ganta, people are paying $15 to $20 a month for electricity for the whole month. because the standard electricity in Ghana, you can put 5 air conditioners in your house if you want to.
Come from Liberia?
Yeah,
No.
from Cote d'Ivoire.
Thank you.
It's an agreement. Okay?
So,
And the reason
Thing
it's a
on
plus.
Broadway.
It's a moral, it's a union agreement. Okay? Ivory Coast is not getting it from herself, too. She's getting it from Ghana and turning it over to Liberia. So it's not like Ivory Coast generating all her electricity.
see.
So
I
basically,
was in the discussion.
if you provide roads and provide a provision for people to prosper, it will come through. People will not have problem with paying tuition. You will reach
So how much people
primary
pay for
education.
electricity in Monrovia? You just spoke
I
of
mean,
Nima.
most of the people in Monrovia are buying fuel, and you buy fuel, so not 2-3 gallons. It's $4 per gallon a night. You're talking about almost
No, I'm
one,
talking about
one
the
day.
LEC.
It's not all
LEC, it's not all over.
Yeah, so how much you
even if
paying
people
for
have
LEC
it,
per month?
it's not even stable. I'm not even sure how they calibrate
It
it.
depends
Even
on
if you have,
it's depending on your consumption.
let me
Element
say
school, it was
even
still-
if you
Just
have,
fair- just fair
even if you have
40%
LEC,
of
it is not stable. It will go off, it will come on, and you put any equipment on, you charge it, it will blow the phone off because you hear the thing going off. It's not stable
So it means
compared
there's no problem of the
to
country.
where Ganta is. And we're taking electricity from Ganta now to Banga.
Okay, that's a good idea.
Okay, to make sure that Banga gets stable electricity and so forth. But roads is paramount. If you can take your Lofa County, Bon County, and Nima County are the highest producer of food in the country. If you can reach roads to Kisedu, Fusebu, or Vanjama, other places, you will have food reaching Monrovia in less than no time. If you can take the road and reach it, right now, Lugatuo, Senekode, Lugatuo road is ongoing, starting. They just launched it. The U.S. government provided millions of dollars in order to open that roads. The Kepa Ganta Highway, which will link right in Senekode right there, and it's ongoing with Mata Steel. Okay, it means that you have reached the other side of Guinea, you're reaching Cote d'Ivoire from Lugatuo to hit Senekode. Now you have Banga, the Banga road going to Lofa ongoing currently. When you do that with the Southeastern project that is ongoing, you have connected the entire country. You will not be forced to be in Monrovia to go through the hardship people are going through. There will be options. So road is number one for this government as it is taking temporary measures to address the heightening issues that are going. As students come to the president, yes, he's trying to do that. So these are just some of the things when you look at what the government is projecting. I mean, it will have a revision. I mean, nobody sat in stone and say we're going to run the country, we're going to do this, and when after in November or by December there will be a reshuffle because they're doing performance evaluation at this time, ongoing, to evaluate its performance, what its agenda is, if the performances of the people it has in place is in alignment. So with that, the recommendations will go to the president to make the first reshuffle, and all those ones are in the pipeline. But everybody cannot run the institution at the same time. It's not easy. It's a difficult task. There will be, changes. There will be ongoing changes going on as time goes on. Everybody cannot work in government. The private sector asks, by 2022, we expect most of the roads to be completed. At that time,
so then you'll be ready to get
at that
elected
time,
for 2023.
yeah, at that time, Liberia will embark on a massive agricultural program to open up plantations. Everybody, people will be. That's where loans will come in.
All those things are things we've heard
so
before,
those are what we have on, and it's encouraging to exchange with the brothers here. But I mean, those adjustments will be ongoing as the government continues to make strides.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So this was I don't know how to describe it. Mostly I always say that whenever we have debates, people always start with smiles, but at the end of the day, it ends with something else. But I think today we started with smiles, ended with smiles, so that was a different thing. And I appreciate all of you guys that are watching us today. This has been a great program. We expect more great programs to be coming in the future. I wouldn't even mind having these guys as my panelists all the time, like pretty much every Sunday or every other Sunday, just to make sure we keep having fruitful and healthy discussions like this. So if you are watching us, I just want to bring up a few things. This is Farafina Show. We do have our app. I've been very lazy to have this on the Apple market, so we only have it so far on the Google market. If you go to the Google market, that is the Android market, type Farafina Show, you will have access to our app, and all of the videos from us will be seen there. You will also see more news on Farafina Show always. We do have a Facebook page. You can check that out. We have an official page on Facebook. I think we have about 19,000 followers right now. Check us out on that. And we have a YouTube page that you can also check us out. And some people will be watching this on TV. Some will have the chance to watch it on Facebook Live. But if you do have a chance to watch it on TV, I think it's channel 859 and channel 20. Channel 20 is going to be a local TV, so it's easier to watch it on that, you know, because the other one you probably might need Comcast, and I've forgotten the number for, you know, Dish also. So we have all of those, and I will be sharing the dates for you guys on Facebook, so you know the days that the program will be replayed. It will be replayed at least 5 times, you know, on probably next week. So you guys will all have a chance to watch it. I want to say thanks to you again for being with us today. It is also always a pleasure to have you guys on here. Hopefully we can see you next time. Thank you.